Battlefield 6 launched a little over a week and a half ago, and I've been playing it a ton. I've dropped almost 40 hours into this game. That's from somebody who has a full-time job and regularly works weekends and weekly overtime. So for me to have that amount of time into a video game is absolutely insane. But a real quick recap. Again, my name is Ray Legend. I've been making YouTube videos for the better part of 15 years now, but I stopped uploading in about 2018, and due to that inactivity, my previous YouTube video channel got deleted, and along with it, 300 plus videos. So I had to start again, and that's what we're doing here today. We're starting a brand new channel, and we're going to upload to it when we feel like. So, I played Battlefield 3 almost 15 years ago at this point, and I absolutely loved that game. Some of the other Battlefields after that, I didn't really enjoy. And I'm here to tell you that if you liked Battlefield 3, you'll probably enjoy this one a lot more than you've enjoyed other Battlefields. Specifically 2142. If you've got a sour taste in your mouth from playing 2142, this game is definitely worth coming back and revisiting the Battlefield franchise. It's more of a return to classical form, and they've removed a lot of the things that 2142 had that were, arguably betraying the fundamentals of Battlefield in the first place. So, let's hop into it. Battlefield 6, what does it do right? Number one, the attachment system. The attachment system inside of Battlefield 6 is pretty phenomenal, pretty amazing, I would say. It allows you to have an immense amount of customization within the game for each weapon without risking a meta forming due to certain attachments being overpowered. Instead of like previous Battlefields, where they try and make each attachment have a certain equivalency to other attachments, in this game, they make attachments that are clearly better than other attachments, and they balance it out by creating a currency. This currency has a maximum value of 100 you can spend on the gun. Certain attachments are really good, but those attachments will take up more of your currency, and you don't have enough currency to run all of the best attachments. You must make a compromise somewhere when you're creating the gun combination of attachments that you want. This is really great because it makes it so that you're not going to have a meta of like, this is the absolute best gun, because it's going to be good in specific scenarios, maybe the best in specific scenarios, but it's going to lack in other scenarios where other attachments might shine in. So, for that reason, I think the attachment system is absolutely great. They strike a pretty good balance of making it so that you can have the gun you want without making it overpowered. Number two is the removal of operators. In 2142, they introduced these operators into the game, which made it, to me, I hated it because not only did you have certain gear that was just like, why is this even a thing? They had wingsuits, they had riot shields, they had all kinds of crazy operators that gave them specific gadgets that were very, very powerful, but they also put a level of personalization that I didn't really feel belonged in Battlefield. When you played an operator in Battlefield 6, you were playing a character, much like you would in a hero shooter, which didn't belong in Battlefield. In Battlefield, you're a soldier. And in this game, you definitely, again, feel like a soldier. They have returned to the 4-class system. You have Assault, Recon, Support, and Engineer in this game. And of the three, I would say, or the four, I would say one doesn't really feel like it has a place or an identity, which is being the Assault class. But the other ones feel just like a traditional Battlefield. You have Support in this game that gives health, ammo, and revives. You have Recon, which is the sniper class. They give reconnaissance. They have a lot of like proximity sensing equipment that allows you to show where enemies are at. They have reconnaissance drones. They have a proximity grenade you can chuck now. You have Engineers, which are there to take out tanks, repair vehicles, lay down mines, take care of jets. The Assault is the only one that doesn't really have a place because it doesn't really do very well against vehicles. You can't heal, you can't give ammo. You have a grenade launcher, which is okay, I guess, and then you have the spawn beacon, and you have ladders. So, it's a very niche class. I find it stands out the most in Rush and Breakthrough, where you need to create a unique way of getting behind the enemies. But overall, I think it's actually pretty weak. The ladder being allowed to flank is pretty cool, but you can't use it that well on every single map. And the other perks that it brings, such as being able to draw your weapon faster for using the assault rifle, honestly just aren't worth the trade-offs, because you could be running a class like Support in which you get smoke grenades, incendiary grenades, health, deployable cover. Those things are very powerful. Assault is only good in very specific scenarios, but regardless, it's a lot better than the operator system. They've also added in some new game modes that are a ton of fun to play. If you're a fan of Conquest, you'll probably really like Escalation. It's a twist off Conquest, and basically the way it works is just like Conquest. You go around capturing flags and points on the map. The team that holds the most flags will score a point. Once a point is scored, one of the flags will disappear. This means that as the game goes on, the battlefield gets more and more concentrated and the action is faster and faster paced. I personally really like this, as Conquest can get pretty stale at times, and so I prefer Escalation to Conquest. They've also added a game mode called Breakthrough. If you're a fan of Rush, you might enjoy this game mode as well. It's basically just like Rush, where you go in and there are 2 objectives for the attackers to attack. But unlike Rush, you have to capture and hold these zones. Only when you hold both of these zones can you then progress to the next set of objectives. This makes it so that there is a lot more of a fighting chance for the defender's side. Now, this can be a good thing, but for the most part, I actually think that it's a little bit too much in the defender's favor. Maybe DICE could go along and tweak this, but the amount of time it takes for you to capture one zone and then transfer all of your forces to fighting towards the other zone usually results in either the team that you are fighting against having thinned down your numbers enough that you have an unsuccessful push in the second objective and then you just lose the first one in the first place, or you get the second objective and then you get back capped on the first objective, because that's the biggest difference in this mode, is that the defenders actually have a chance to reclaim the lost objective, whereas in Rush, once it's blown up, there's no coming back from it. So I don't know what they've got to do with Breakthrough. It definitely doesn't feel as good as Rush, because it just feels like the majority of times when I play Breakthrough, the defenders usually win, but you know, maybe in a little while, this could be a more fun alternative to Rush. So yeah, there's a lot of content in Battlefield 6, and you'll definitely have a ton of fun going through, unlocking all the attachments and trying out all of the new modes. They've also been implementing a lot of patches very quickly. In the first 2 weeks of this game's come out, they've already had balance and bug patches to the game, improving things like hit detection and bloom errors. So the game is being regularly updated, and there's a lot of support for it, which is a huge pro. They've also released footage for the Season 1 maps and DLC, so content is coming for this game. Traditionally, Battlefields have had quite a lot of content uploaded. They usually have 4 or 5 DLC packs, and I'm sure this game will be no different. And so if you're worried about this game running stale, don't worry. There's going to be a lot of content for you. Okay, now let's get into the cons. So I have more cons on this list than I do pros, but that being said, a lot of these things are nitpicky and minor and could easily be changed with a couple of updates. So the very first one is actually the visibility of this game. Now, unlike other Battlefields, I don't know what it is, but it is hard to see people, dude. There are certain maps in which the sun glare creates a contrast in which you just cannot see the enemies, and other maps there is just such a dark area that you can't see the enemies at all either. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've walked around a corner trying to clear a room, not realizing I'm looking directly at a guy, and then he just shoots me in the face and I feel like an idiot. I have not experienced this in other shooters. I also don't know if I'm just getting old, but I know a lot of other people are also running into the same issue. And without a doubt, they've definitely got to do something about the visibility. I don't know if adding a small outline to the characters, maybe they could solve this with an ambient occlusion effect, where there's almost like a shadow around characters, making them pop out a little more. But it's not really fun having to play a game where you have to look so hard into finding the enemies. It's also creating an issue with thermal optic meta. I find, personally, there is just no reason not to run an optic that has thermal. In this game, you don't have a full tunnel vision scope on thermal optics, and they take away the sun glare entirely and just make it so that you can, for sure, know whether or not an enemy is there or not. And to be honest with you, it's just there's no downside to running it, and there's only upsides. It also makes you a lot more sure of yourself when clearing corners. So I don't like the fact that that seems to be like overall one of the best attachments, just because of the fact that the game's glare makes it so that if you don't run it, you kind of have a disadvantage. So they've got to do something about that. Alright, my next con is actually in the CQB playlist. There's a couple things wrong with it, right? So the maps themselves actually, I think, are a pretty decent design. There are some chokeholds on maps like Kings Row that need some adjustment, but for the most part, the maps flow pretty well. The issues come with the spawns. The spawn logic in Battlefield is pretty terrible. You'll see a couple clips in this video, in fact, where I found a spawn trap on Kings Row, where if I just stand there, I know the enemies are going to spawn directly in front of me, and they just run into my bullets. And you know what? There's a lot of areas like this in these games where you just continually spawn in the same spot over and over and over and over. And you can get put in some pretty nasty spawn traps. In addition to this, the problem is exacerbated by the respawn timer being non-existent. As soon as you hit the ground after you're killed in this game, if you hit the ground and hold spacebar, you're right back in the action. I've had some moments even where I kill a guy and his spawn point is so close to me that before I can even get the reload off, he's back shooting me in my face. It kind of is amazing to me that a full development team did not see this issue at all. Considering DICE has been making Battlefields for so long, and this is not their first experience making a CQB playlist, I don't know how this slipped through the cracks. I mean, it's almost game-breaking how bad the spawn logic is. In addition, you can't even spawn on your teammates, which I think is a mistake. You should be able to spawn on your teammates in this game. It's a team-oriented game. I don't know why that wouldn't be in there. But yeah, you cannot spawn on your teammates in the CQB playlist, making certain equipment pieces like the spawn beacon absolutely pointless. So I think, honestly, again, they just need to do a couple balance changes, change the things I'm talking about, add a respawn timer, add the ability to spawn your teammates, and improve the spawn logic. And the CQB playlist could be pretty good. But for right now, it's pretty rough playing it, honestly. And I still do really enjoy it, but man, those issues are... you feel them when you play the game. In addition to that, we have issues with hit detection being really inconsistent. Now, I do want to clarify that in addition to the hit detection being inconsistent, we also have issues that exacerbate the issue, and you will often see players mistaking this for hit detection. First off, we have issues with player desync. So in traditional Battlefield form, because there's so many players, the servers aren't the most responsive, and as a result, certain players' character models are lagging behind what they're actually doing in game. This is called player desync, where the player model that you're shooting at is not up to date for where the player is at on his screen, and it's lagging pretty far behind pretty dramatically. This can lead to a lot of kills where the enemy isn't even shooting, or maybe is looking in the opposite direction, and all of a sudden you're getting hit by their bullets and you don't understand how. And this is due to the fact that, Battlefield traditionally hasn't had the most amazing netcode, and it's one of those things that I hope DICE figures out, at least for the CQB playlist, man, because man, in that game mode, if you don't have a good connection, it feels pretty game breaking. But again, you have the issue with the player desync, you have the issues with hit detection being pretty bad to begin with, and then in addition to that, a lot of players don't understand how the game mechanics work, and the game mechanics are extremely punishing when it comes to the gun handling in this game. You have a base accuracy while standing still. When moving, there's a huge penalty. You have a spread accuracy while shooting, so the longer you hold full auto, the more spread your bullets have. And of course, the recoil is pretty difficult to manage on certain guns as well. The combination of these things makes the gunplay feel pretty rough at times, I'm not going to lie. It definitely needs a lot of work, and I kind of don't understand how developers go backwards sometimes with this, because I don't recall there being nearly as many hit detection or gunplay issues in Battlefield 3, and so you would think as games progress that would only get better, but in this game we seem to have a complete regression of gunplay. The guns don't feel good. The time to kill is very fast, but at the same time, it's very inconsistent. And again, I'm sure that they will find a way to patch this, and they will find a way to make it feel better. But it's just disappointing that year after year we have issues like this at launch. So, finally, and I want to talk about this, the gun balance does need change quite a bit. There are certain guns that are just significantly better in the majority of scenarios than others. And quite frankly, there's other guns that are just not worth using, that are absolute pea shooters. So a couple of guns stand out because they have either really low bloom and they're super accurate, or they just do an insane amount of damage really fast. And so I think that they need to go back in, and they probably will get around to doing this, but a lot of these guns just don't do enough damage to even be worth using. There's some guns in this game that do less than 20 damage, and I'm like, why is that even a thing? You could just tweak the gun damage drop off. You don't have to make the base damage that low. So, alright, so those are some of my initial impressions, my pros and my cons with the game. Overall, I do think the game is worth purchasing, and I do anticipate that down the line, a lot of these problems will be improved, taken care of entirely, and we will have a much better game. At the moment, the game is still fun to play despite these issues, and I definitely wouldn't say that any of these game issues are game breaking or make it so that the game isn't worth purchasing. So, All right, those are my thoughts on Battlefield 6. I hope you guys enjoy. Stay tuned for more content coming. Until next time, I'm Ray Legend. See you later.